Hi all, I have another fascinating game to show you from TCEC Season 18 Super Final. So the mighty Stockfish was playing white against the Highly Evolved Leela. So let's have a look at this game. Stockfish playing with the white pieces kicks off with d4. And the opening set for both of them is within Queens Indian territory. So we have knight f3 here. As you may know, knight c3 invites the Nimzo Indian pin, brainchild of Aaron Nimzovich, one of the leading hypermodernists, who used to find useful exceptions to extend established theory. But here we see knight f3 bypassing the Nimzo Indian defense, and black plays b6, so still with an idea of controlling e4. So that's a commonality between the two openings. We have a3 avoiding any bishop b4 later. Bishop a6 though, attacking the c4 pawn, that's protected with queen c2, c5, and now d5. This is technically possible. E takes, c takes. Black dare not take on d5 because, I hope you can spot it, if I give you 5 seconds, what does white play here in this position? Yep, there's a deadly weakness of the last move. It's neglected the e4 square, just pounce into that. Like you would nick a car park in a busy car park, you need to see what the weakness of the last person moving out of the car park is. Otherwise you'll be there all day. So queen e4 check. Knight e7, you can just take here on a8. The queen is not trappable, for example, like this. It's inconvenienced, but it can get out soon. If black was really desperate to sort of trap the queen here, it just leads into big trouble. Say instead of d5, queen c7, then knight c3 threatens things like knight b5 and knight d5. So like this, yeah, the queen's getting out with a vengeance. So yeah, it's a pawn which you can't really take, so we have bishop b7, but it still leads into a pawn sacrifice now of the queen e7. This puts a lot of pressure here. The king's still in the center. This e4 pawn is pinned, and white plays bishop d3. It represents a positional pawn sacrifice. So Jerome, who's in charge of the openings of TCEC, yeah, this is a very interesting thing to explore theoretically. We're still within the book given. Knight takes d5, white castles, knight c7. So a very interesting gambit within the Queen's Indian defense. I would say, you know, there's a lot of positional compensation here. You can see the queen's been inconvenienced here, a subject to tempo game, but also hemming in the f8 bishop. Black's developments and king safety are suspect right now. This is the end of the book given to both. And in the previous game, in round 23, in fact, Leela in game 23 was with the white pieces and shares now Stockfish's choice move here, which is bishop g5. This is a bit of a probing weakness move. There is f6. And both played that with black as well. So Stockfish plays it with black here. And the bishop, though, in the previous game went to h4. Leela actually chose bishop h4. We're at the end of the book here. Sorry, after knight c7, we're at the end of the book. After bishop g5, we're at the end of the commonality now, because Leela in the previous game played bishop h4. Stockfish maybe doesn't fancy bishop h4 as much as bishop e3. So in game 23, just as a quick nutshell summary, after bishop h4 g5, it seems Stockfish was tortured for quite a while on the light squares, but was able to hold a draw, actually. A very stubborn defensive effort from Stockfish to draw with the black pieces after bishop h4. So here with the white pieces, though, bishop e3, we have now. But before we venture on, bishop h4 is also in a high-level over-the-board game. I'd like to mention one of my favourite grandmasters, a really nice guy, Anatoly Karpov, played bishop h4 against Lev Polgiavsky in Rockbrunn 1992, and it was actually quite a sparkling game. Let me just quickly show you that for the record. So black dared to castle queenside, and Karpov was quite aggressive here, didn't mind the double pawns there. And he's going for the king, and there's a really neat tactical idea that Karpov has. Soon after check, takes And here, queen d2, really neat idea for queen f4 to get a very dangerous battery. Black tries to prevent that, but we have g5, so that's looking at the queen, offering the bishop. And in fact, here, instead of queen f4, even stronger, can you see what Karpov played, which knocked out Polgievsky kind of immediately here for 100 points. White to play here. Okay, queen d6, yeah, threatening. Queen c7, queen b8, yeah, that's the end of the game. Black had to resign. So a quick knockout there, 27 moves. So that was Anatoly Karpov playing bishop h4, which was Leela's choice. So anyway, Stockfish plays bishop e3. We have knight c6, knight c3. So there are various issues for black to solve here already. We have queen e6, so that seems to be anticipating knight d5, which looks very, very dangerous. And it means the bishop can move, and black can potentially castle kingside as an option. So we have h3. On rook ad1, I think we're departing from any over-the-board game territory. There was a game Rosenkranz against Anderson. It's a German email correspondence game, I believe. And that ended in a win for white. I'm not going to take you through, but black castled queenside. It ended in a win for white here. In this game, in fact, we see bishop d6 from Leela, rook ad1, knight e5, bishop e2, and now actually black castles kingside. On castling queenside, I think there is a little bit of trouble after b4. This would be quite dangerous after takes, bishop takes. For example, here, bishop g4, f4, parrying any diagonal threat. And white just stands better. It seems that c5 is far too dangerous in general. White's going to be much better and very strong on the light squares like this example. So perhaps a very good practical decision to castle kingside. Knight h4, but this f5 square looks quite juicy here. Rook fe8, and now f4, knight f7, rook fe1. This pawn here is poisoned, even though the black pieces converge on it. We have rook ad8. If bishop takes e4, then knight takes, queen takes. The snag is bishop d3, and that nice battery on h7 actually is disastrous. Like checkmate there, it's mostly disastrous. If instead king h8, then bishop f2, this position is just, yeah, it's just going to be very, very bad for black, that possibility. So rook ad8, bishop g4, queen e7. Here, if bishop takes e4, then taking on e6, taking on f7, and taking on d6. Yeah, the bishop's loose there, so that's a piece up. Thanks so much. So we have queen e7, knight f5, queen f8, and now b4. So this is before even the dark square bishop's taken off. Put pressure on the dark squares. Yeah, white has a very dominating position. In, you know, clearly visually, it's actually, I hate to say it, visually crushing. So c takes b4, knight takes. We have a takes b4. So that dark square bishop is fairly dangerous now without the counterpart. This piece in this position is very dangerous. Yeah, there are various issues around, like queen a2 check as well to factor in if black wants to be greedy with pawns as well. So we have actually, in this position, we have actually the move bishop c6 and now bishop f2. Here, if check in this particular position, then maybe this knight cb5. And yeah, white has to do something about the knight. So say taking this position, it's still, yeah, it's about even actually. So white doesn't really want to indulge that check. So we have bishop f2 instead. King h8, bishop h5. This is awkward for black. More weaknesses being created. The thing is, if g6, then sorry, if rook e7, then there's a weakness to disconnect. You just take on d6 there. So more weaknesses with g6 created. Bishop g4, knight e6, queen d3, looking at that knight, knight f7, b5, bishop a8, queen d2. We have here h5, bishop f3, rook c8, king h1, tucking the king away, king g8. That king goes back on the diagonal. We have bishop e3, queen e7, queen b2, now knight d6. It's tricky. If king g7, then maybe knight d5. With the queen aligned to the king here, this is pretty dangerous. This scenario is looking as though white's going to be better. At least the small edge, at least. So we have knight d6, f5 here, knight g5. If g takes f5, e takes, if this is the best, rook takes c3, it's a disaster, because it looks like things like with the queen as a potential target. There are various horrible things going on for black here, actually. So this move apparently is the best move, and this idea, but even so, white ends up with a big advantage. For example, here, bishop h6, and using the g file is possible. Yeah, horrible things could happen on the g file. So we have actually knight g5. Now this check, stronger. I mean, it seems a lot stronger than f takes, because maybe knight c4 there. If knight c4 and then knight takes, and then queen a3, trying to get the queens off, is possible. So actually, this is much stronger immediately. Queen a2 check, king g7. If knight c4 here, you might ask, then bishop e2, it's a nasty pin. And if queen f7, f takes now, and here bishop takes, black's position basically is collapsing. After check, g7, knight takes. It's a horrible position to have. White's clearly better. So we have king g7. Now bishop takes, f takes, and now actually taking this a7 pawn. So that weakens b6. It undermines that little pawn chain there. g4. This seems a bit desperate, actually. Queen takes b6, not moving the bishop, but instead countering an attack against the knight. Takes, and the thing is, it doesn't matter about this knight on c3 because king safety. F takes, king g1, g takes, rook ed1, threatening rook takes d7, pinning the queen, queen e5. But now check, and now rook f6, and now rook takes f5. So offering c3 again, but there's vicious checks here, murderous checks. We have queen g7. If queen takes c3 here, then check, and then taking here, and then check, and then mate, for example. So queen g7, rook takes, trying to distract the queen away from g5. So rook takes, check, and this is winning the queen, really, with queen g7 having to be played. If king h7, then check, and then this is mating. If king f8, then there's check, and then rook g7. It's all brutal stuff. Tactically, it's just very, very nice for white. Yep. So we have the queen offering with queen g7. That's taken. And now queen d4 check, queen d7 check, queen d2 check. And now h4, which gives the possibility now of queen g5. We have king h7, queen g5, rook f8, queen takes. Yeah, it's a basic mopping up job. The black pieces are not very well placed here. King safety is a major issue for black. We have this check now. In fact, that rook is pretty loose. Check, knight f4 here, check, rook e1, king e2, king h2, bishop takes. Now knight g2, rook f2. This falters, but black's in big trouble here. In any case, there are too many big issues, and too many loose pieces lurking around. So the rook doesn't even bother going to e2 here. It's going to be dropping off to a key check, one has to assume. So we have rook f2, but this rook's also loose on f2, and Stockfish finds a way to pick that up with check, 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 check. And we can see now it's picked up that loose rook. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. In fact, slips in h5 first. And that's the end of that game. The game actually finishes here, and black resigned. Yeah, it's a brutal tactical job, this game. This gambit is exceptionally powerful, menacing, huge positional compensation. So I guess it should be considered, if it's given a name, it should be considered a very safe gambit for positional pawn sacrifice gambit. And Stockfish managed to win here in this set of 2 games. So it won this mini match and started to show real superiority in this match, I think, even at this early stage. So yeah, congratulations to the Stockfish team. This is another fantastic win. And if you want to follow the playlists that are evolving, bit.ly/Leela Chess, bit.ly/Stockfish Chess. If you want to challenge me for a game, Kingscrusher.tv, register there and I'll be able to invite you for a game soon after, or bit.ly/chessmold. If you come to my chat forum, Kingscrusher.tv/Discord, there's a game suggestions subsection of that. You might want to get involved in game suggestions or general chat there. Okay, comments, questions, likes, subscribes with the notification bell. Really appreciated. Thanks so much.